Hello, my good people. Welcome to this in-depth analysis with Chigos and Debo. There is a sponsored narrative, false narrative, and propaganda by certain vested interests, especially the APC and Tinubu's media handlers, are saying that Tinubu will not forget or forgive P2B for calling for military invasion, as if they are not aware of the current realities and who should be held responsible. P2B, for crying loud, is not part of the government. P2B is not part of those making policies and implementing such. So, how will you continue to blame an innocent man who is not part of the government for your woeful failure and irresponsibility on the part of delivering your statutory obligations to the Nigerian? You took an oath, of course, of office to protect Nigerians and their citizens, and including the territorial integrity of the Nigerian state as the Grand Commander of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. P2B have never been the Grand Commander of the Armed Forces of Nigeria. He have never, of course, been part of the Defense Minister or ever had any position within the dispensation of Tinubu. Why should P2B be blamed? Was P2B the only one who reacted to this current dilemma or national crisis, security crisis that is rocking the entire country, which have defied every effort by Tinubu's administration to nip this at the bud? It's rather unfortunate. They tend to forget history too fast. Let me just take them back to memory lane. They orchestrated whatever is happening today. Are they denying the reality? Even most of them has admitted publicly that they deliberately imported terrorists, Fulani militias, across the Sahel regions into Nigeria because they are desperate to seize power by every means, either by hook or by crook, whatever that is, provided they clinch to power. Have they forgotten too soon that they laid the foundation of this crisis, of this criminality that is going on, that have grown to become a monster during the Nigerian indigenous communities? Buhari and his collaborators, which of course Tinubu was one of the pronounced stakeholders in that movement. APC they wanted every means to dislodge Jonathan and frustrate every effort of Jonathan re-election bid. They sponsored several propagandas, campaign, and they did everything to the extreme of importing terrorists and struck a deal with them. Unfortunately, after they eventually the power was relinquished to them, they were never prepared for governance. We've seen that over the years, even 6 months down the line, after being sworn in, Buhari was helpless and he doesn't even know the next line of action to take. That shows that they weren't prepared for service, but they were prepared for mischief. They were prepared to distort and destabilize the entity called Nigeria, importing, of course, the missionaries who they claim that the baboons, and monkeys will be soaked in their blood if eventually they fail to win. That was the level of desperation that should be questioned. A country and a citizen, supposed citizen who is patriotic, passion for the country, will not indulge in such reckless extremism. Honestly, to destroy the country he so much loved, it would be possible if the political class have love for this country and concern for the growth and development of this country. They wouldn't have indulged in such level of criminality and conspiracy to destroy and break down the country because they are not there. If they are not there, no other person should be there. That is just a very destructive mindset and mentality. And today, they are eventually reaping what they have sown. The evil they supported has eventually caught up with them. Today, they are shifting the blame to P2B and every other person who is innocent about that. Rather than fixing the mess, of course, they have created the defecations everywhere, they defecated everywhere today. It is constituting nuisance and the rest of them. They want somebody to clean up the mess rather than living and holding themselves responsible for such. So P2B now should be the subject of discourse, that you will never forgive P2B for supporting invasion. Who cares? How does that affect the decision of or influence the decision of the United States? There was an outcry, overwhelming outcry from the North and every other regions who have suffered such level of humiliations and cruelty. They cried out, they busted out in tears, in pain, in agony, having evidence of the cruelty, destruction, genocide that is going on, which draw the attention of America, international community begin to focus on what exactly is happening in Nigeria. There have been this false narrative that everything is okay, the military is in charge, the military are technically defeating Boko Haram and the rest of them. All these false narratives don't never added up. Only time revealed that in fact there was nothing being done to stop these people. Otherwise, they wouldn't have consolidated and built more frontiers and expanding their oppressions and cells beyond the region of the north. Now they are in the south. You see, of recent, the southwestern governors had a meeting and they are now forming security funds. You see, they are coming in collaboration with the rising insecurity, not in the north, about the matter of the north, in the east, in the southwest. These are people in the power. Tinubu, virtually the security orderlies and the security chiefs are from the southwest, and that does not guarantee their safety. Look at the 6 governors are coming together to form a league, to join force to fight this terrorism that has come to them. And it is no longer a matter of denial. You know, they have been living in this denial for years, but unfortunately, even while they occupy the power at the center, they can no longer deny the realities. They threatened, of course, the security or the safety of the people for political gains and opportunities. Now they have the opportunity, and today they are the risk of extinction, not just about the North today. The same people they connive with are turning against them today and seeking not just to dislodge them, but to reoccupy their ancestral home, just the way they lost Kwara State to the caliphate, Fulani caliphate, and the rest of them. And these people have engaged in several wars, of course, that is not being reported, and several attempts by the Yoruba to recover the lost territory of the Yorubas have proven abortive. They have been repelled and defeated on several occasions. Now the question is, it's no longer about Kwara State or Ilorin that are falling in the hands of the control of the caliphate. Now is other regions of Yoruba, because these people are seeking for expansions. They are eyeing Osun State. You saw how Osun State was able to propel them from collapsing in the hands of these terrorists or this Fulani expansionist agenda. And eventually, with the collaboration of Ibadan or Ibadan and the warriors, they repel them. Otherwise, they are almost conquering or collapsing the entire Yoruba culture, heritage, and whatever they represent, and forced Islamization on them. But these people never realize this, or perhaps they believe they stand opportunity to enjoy certain vested interests or share some political proceeds by aligning with them, and eventually, such is not paying off. They are missed. There's the real threat now is starting at everyone, and possibly they're saying, what can we do to remedy this situation? We are already trapped in that uncertainty. And they think, of course, by forming a collaboration and raising fund for defense of the southwestern region, possibly we might recover the lost territories and eventually protect our people. Whether they are being attacked today, of course, is undeniable. Ijabode is under siege. And imagine Kwara State, look at the killings, abductions, attack, and the desecration of the place of worship. CSC was attacked, and the rest of them, after whatever called by the DSS negotiations, possibly ransoms were paid and they were able to be freed. What about those who lost their life? What about the perpetrators of those heinous crimes? Have they been brought to justice? That is just the question. What is the need celebrating that these people have been released after much negotiations and compromise? But these people are still holding the entire regions to ransom. I mean, operating freely and the rest of them, they have their base well established and they could launch out attack anywhere, anytime. And it's clearly indicates that the people are not even safe today that they paid ransom and they were the release. The victims of or survivors of yesterdays might become invariably victims of today or tomorrow. It doesn't matter. Only time will tell because these people, their mission, of course, has time bound and they are committed to this very cause. We've seen cases of where people have been slaughtered for without any reason and offense, and people are justifying the case. So why is P2B the subject of discourse rather than thinking who are the perpetrators of this heinous crime? Who has brought Nigeria to the point of disrepute? This should be the most concern of the administration of Ahmed Bola Tinubu rather than chasing after shadows when the entire house is agog with fire. They should be more concerned and responsible enough to begin to think, what do we did wrong, and possibly have tendered unreserved apology to Nigerians for deceiving Nigerians in 2015, saying that the Buhari is the Messiah and the rest of them. We've seen how eventually the Messiah unfortunately become anathema, a cost to Nigeria, honestly. And today we've seen the antecedents of APC and the rest of them and what they can do. They are busy criticizing Jonathan's administration. We thought for those who believe, of course, blindly, there is something good that will come out of them. For us who understood the antecedents and what they represent, they were never ready, of course, to govern, or their interest was not to protect and build a nation where justice, equity, and fairness could be entrenched to build an egalitarian society. That wasn't in their agenda at all. But then, some people, gullible ones, Nigerians, were deceived, and today, possibly, the veil has fallen off their eyes, and they could see clearly that these people meant to kill, to steal, and to destroy. And the reality is what we are seeing today. Recall in 2013 and 14, Tinubu, the likes of the late Buhari and the rest of them, Rotimi Amechi, and the host of others, including President Tinubu, went to report Nigeria to Donald Trump, to American government, that the Christians' populations have been targeted and killed, that the rate of insecurity is alarming and out of proportion, and the rest of them, they are seeking for intervention and for immediate action to be taken. Honestly, to the likes of Bayo Adenuga or Nanuga and the rest of them, this is not what Tinubu needs at this particular time. Tinubu, for crying loud, need people of credibility, people of integrity, people who will give him a very timely advice, a responsible advice that will tailor him out of this quagmire, out of this wood. Tinubu don't need such deceptive propagandas and false narratives and being pushed out. Tinubu genuinely need people who will give him the right solutions, the right actions to take to bring solutions to these problems. And you are not helping him at all, surrounded by sacrifice and the rest of them. It is rather unfortunate. I pity Tinubu so much. Tinubu won't be so wicked to ignore the level of killings and the destructions going on. I start to be corrected anyway, but any responsible government and individual saddled with the responsibility of governance accountable to the people will not watch why the entire nation lies in ruins. You can imagine the audacity of a terrorist challenging the sovereign state of Nigeria that Tinubu will be kidnapped. Only making that statement alone, the entire arsenal would have been let loose, and such persons in less than 6 hours would have been arrested and possibly prosecuted for such heinous atrocity. But with that happen, rather unfortunate, these same people faced the camera, they made videos of such threats, they push it out. You can't tell me that the DSS and the security operatives are not aware of the whereabouts of such persons. But it appears there is vested interest, those who appears to be above the law. You can imagine saying that they are the sergeant or the pointing at his hierarchy, where in its government, in a sovereign state, there are people who are bragging that we are the commanders. Look at the military. We are the military, the Islamic military. Well, it is now very clear that Nigeria is on the path of irreversible disintegration. If a non-state actors could threaten a city government, recall there was also a call of in recent past that somebody was calling for the head of the first lady, Remi Tinubu, just for the very fact that she was a Christian or professes to be Christian, whatever be the case. It's rather unfortunate. Was such person brought to justice? Was such person summoned or the rest of them? The question is no, Nigeria is not in the know of whatever is happening. So people are doubting the sincerity or commitment of Tinubu to ending this escalations. But one thing I may tell the president at this time, it's so unfortunate, sir, that you are trapped in this unfortunate development. But whether you like it or not, the North has succeeded in destroying your administrations. And in the annals of history, it will be remembered that under your watch, all these things are happening. It doesn't matter whether you accept or believe or tends to live in denial or the media handlers surrounding you, of course, are telling you the truth or not. It will be on record that these people have destroyed or ruined your governments. P2B should be let alone. P2B has not committed any crime. In fact, with or without the opinion of P2B, was the decision of the White House, the American Congress is established. It is immaterial. Not even Tinubu could influence that. That is just the position. Look at the current voting, 285 against, was it 90 or less? The Congress, U.S. Congress, the decision makers, those who backs the president had given him support for a military action against the terrorists, not against Nigerians, not against defenseless Nigerians, innocent Nigerians, against the terrorists who are killing Nigerians, which the government have been lamenting. We will bring them to bring them to book, bring them to book. How many books has the government opened all this while? And unfortunately, such has not been addressed. You see the people being emboldened, the terrorists being emboldened to the point they have to speak up that we are rounding up the president, and in a matter of days, he will possibly be kidnapped. Kidnapped implies if they see any opportunity to buy him, that would be an easy thing. But that I don't push or pray for him. But whatever happens, it's so unfortunate. He should be remembered that in his time, Nigeria is plunging into a chaos that might consume this entire geographical space, has been expressed by Awolowo. Awolowo never believed there was anything like Nigeria ever existed. He said that Nigeria is never a nation, but a mere geographical expressions. I think with the realities of unfoldings and the way it's been handled today, we are now seeing clearly that the lives of Awolowo, though he discovered this very late, when he also have left, he have lived in that euphoria of fantasy of excitement of denying the true realities at the latter end of his life, he suddenly discovered that all his efforts in keeping Nigeria one was just a wasted one. That if he has known, unfortunately, there was no time for him. He even asked for, just give me one day to become the president of Nigeria. And possibly it was not uh, possible. It was a dream aborted, and eventually he thought by this Ojukwu sidelining or betraying Ojukwu agreement and the rest of them to declare the Yoruba state, while he declared the Biafra state, such would have solved the problem. I mean, what we should have been discussing now is the extent of development and exponential growth and massive infrastructural development. But today, people are running away from their homes, ancestral homes, even within the Western region. The Ogun State, where Awolowo and his lies hails from, is no longer safe. That is just to remind us that we have today to correct the errors of the past. If not, that is not done, then we might be repeating the same mistake, which might be costly at this particular time. I wish Tinubu will listen to the voice of reasoning and wisdom and avoid those deceiving him or dragging him to the grave. And eventually they will abandon him and blame all whatever may have happened on his administration. He knew whether it is glory or shame, he is the one to, of course, inherit it. But I wish he would surround himself with people who would tell him the truth, nothing but the truth. And that possibly might save his image. We know at this particular time it might be seemingly too late for him to coordinate and eventually, but he can still have an open heart to receive the American, of course, extension of assistance, regardless of whatever anyone might say at this particular time. He is the one wearing the cap. And whether good or bad, possibly will also wear the crown or the shame. Let's have your own take regarding this development. P2P should be let alone and every other person. You shouldn't target the Igbos or create that deceptive narrative that may possibly incite another bloody civil war, which invariably is avoidable. And nobody calls for that. We promote peace, unity, and coherence. The government should be held responsible and should live and accept responsibility for their actions. Thanks for watching. Let me have your own take. Have a listen to me and this, of course, exciting analysis. Let me get your own take via the comment section. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up before you exit this video. Bye for now.